Hi there guys, Ken here, your thrifty apprentice, and today we are going to be shooting the final field test for Faber-Castell Creative Studios Godlfaber Aqua watercolor pencils. Yes, this is the sister or brother set, whichever suits your fancy, to the Faber-Castell Godlfaber colored pencils that we used in the introductory and the review video for colored pencils to this channel. And if you're interested, I will include a link for those two videos in the video description so you can check them out if you would like to. Now, this concept for the painting is actually from the watercolor group, or one of the watercolor groups I'm in on Facebook. I talk to you guys about it quite often. It's the one that Ms. Diane Zimmerman is one of the wonderful administrators. They have more than just her. All of them are wonderful. And I'll just show you guys right quick. This is, I've shown it to you on video before. I'm going to show it to you again. My battery is about to die, but it's enough juice to show you. This is what the header looks like. It's got a lot of members in it right now. I want to say this. When you're joining the groups, please be sure to read the rules. And please be sure to adhere to those rules if you're going to be a member. And if you're not sure about something you're doing in the group, don't hesitate to contact an administrator and ask them. That's what they're there for. They'll be more than happy to guide you in a direction to enjoy the group and not infringe on anybody else's right to enjoy the group as well. So keep that in mind always, always, always when you're joining the Facebook group. So anyway, they have wonderful, wonderful like contest that goes on in this particular group in order to, you know, keep members interested and engaged and fresh and getting creative with art and creation. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's one of the main reasons I'm a part of it, not necessarily for the contest, but for the drive they push behind creativity itself. And one of the contests that's currently going on is to recreate a painting that you've already done. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up this talking so we can get to painting, I promise. So I just want to kind of show you where my reference photos are coming from. So I originally pulled this painting out of the group of the stack of paintings that I've kept of things that I did way back. This happens to be one that I did back in 2019. It had to be around October or November, because that's when I actually started using that particular type of signature. And it was actually the first time I'd ever attempt to, well, one of the first 1 or 2 times I ever attempted to draw a poppy. And this is how it turned out. And of course, then I thought it was really good, and other people saw it and they was like, oh, it looks nice. And so you kind of continue to push yourself, and I've been drawing every single day, drawing and painting every single day since like October 1st. That's no joke, because I want to push myself to grow and to become better. And so the challenge is to recreate something that you've done. So I pulled this one, and the first thing I did was yesterday kind of just do a really quick doodle and sketch with the watercolor pencils. And I've created this because I kind of wanted to show myself that I've learned to look at things from different perspectives. So I drew this poppy with some buds in a clear vase, or a clear jar, should I say. And it's kind of a spin on something that I saw Lindsay do. Shouts out to Lindsay, always coming up with great things and always using the best techniques to teach people painting skills and art skills in the easiest way. So shouts out to Lindsay too. So then I got to thinking, okay, I need to do this final field test. So I want to kind of push myself to do a little bit more. Let's pull both perspectives in and see how I've grown to pull off both of them. So I drew this, which is the perspective of a poppy from the front. And that's not painted, but you can just see the drawing, and you can see the difference in the way my eye has learned to look at things and see things since October 1st. All right. So I thought, let's put all of these together, and that's what we're going to do for the painting today. I've drawn certain parts light other parts heavy so that you can see them. I'm just going to hold it up a little bit. I hope that you can see that. Okay. So that's the front perspective flower. And this is the one from the side, which I've included stamens there, which is a little different from the little quick sketch I did in the jar with some buds. And that's what we're going to paint today. And we're going to be using the watercolor pencils. So there will be a swatch chart popping up in the top left-hand corner of this video as the speed demo commences. Okay guys, I'm going to start off by erasing those dark graphite lines out of the picture that I drew in so that you would be able to see on camera. And after I get them light enough, I'm going to go in with my watercolor pencils and I am just going to trace my outline. Now, as I told you guys earlier, there is a color swatch chart included in the top left-hand corner of this video so that in case you are not using the brand that I am using, you can try to match the colors if you would like to attempt this composition. So I am taking my shades of red and yellow and basically I outlined the petals of the flower and then I went in with the yellow and I drew in the stamen section of each one. Stamen section of each one. I'm saying that right. I think I am. After that, I went ahead and outlined the jar that they're in. Now, of course, this is a play off of a ball jar, but it's like my own jar in clear and glass and see-through. I just figured it'll be a little change because most of the pictures I see with flowers coming out of a glass are done in ball jars. Nothing against ball mason jars, just wanted to be a little different, that's all. So now you see I'm using my lighter and darker shades of green along with yellow and eventually a little brown to draw in the stem section of each flower as well as each bud. And I'll be honest, I don't know if you would normally pick buds, but hey, I figured they would look really nice in this composition, so I added them anyway. And after I did the first one, I wanted to do the second one and then the third one. And then I figured I better stop because there wouldn't be any more room in the jar for the buds. So here you see I am just really taking the colors that I've outlined the composition with and I'm shading those colors into fill in the sections of the petals as well as the buds themselves. I'm using several different colors to pull off the effect that I want. The cooler and the warmer green and yellow in the stems and buds. The cooler and the warmer red and yellow along with orange in the flower petals in the stamen section. So yeah, now I am using really light pressure as I color this in and I'm just making sure to put down enough pigment of each color so that once I do go in and dissolve this with the water, it would spread. Now once I started to add the color to the jar section, I was kind of trying to be mindful that when you have a glass jar, it is going to reflect the things around it. And although there is no background in this composition, still I wanted to make sure that the colors from the flowers and the buds were reflecting in the glass as well, just so to have a little bit more realism. Now I did notice after I did this video, the edited part of it and then was going back to do the voiceover, that I did not put a shadow under my jar to ground it to the picture. So guys, please don't forget to do that. Everything in this composition, I like the way it turned out. It's just that I noticed at the end I did not put a shadow under my jar. So I want to remind you guys not to forget, just so it'll ground your jar to the paper. So here, after I've laid down all of the color that I thought I was going to need for my very first layer, I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going in and I am spreading that pigment around. Now you can use several different things. I've told you guys in many videos before that I typically prefer a golden Taklon brush to push the pigments of my watercolor pencils around, but I've also discovered and used on many different occasions water brushes. And this is a Sakura number 4 round water brush that came in my Koi watercolor set, if I'm not mistaken, and I just use that brush all the time for some of everything. Love it. It's really universal. Now it did push the pigments around really well, and as you can see with these Faber-Castell Goldfaber Aqua pencils, once water hits the pigment and it has a chance to release, the colors are so bright and so vibrant. I mean, of course you guys know that I use the Goldfaber colored pencils, and I've already done a review on those, and I was so pleased and so amazed with how they work. And of course I picked this aqua set up as well because I wanted to compare them being from the same line. And suffice it to say, I am not disappointed at all compared to many of the other watercolor pencils that I have. I think that these really stand apart. So here I'm just kind of dispensing and dispersing and pushing around that pigment in the jar. I'm actually using a lot of water for that because I want those washes of color to be super light when they dry, more like a reflection than actually coloring in the jar itself. So I was just checking there to make sure that the lines on my stems were even, and I did try to make sure to draw them all the way to the bottom of the jar, trying my best to keep realism as much as I can. So now I'm going to start off with the poppy that is partially closed. And here I just took that water brush to once again push that pigment around. And while the flower and the petals are still wet, I'm going in with my credit card scraper in order to create that veiny, papery, crepey look that poppies have. I love it. That's why they're one of my favorite flowers. And I'm also, while the flower and petals are still wet, using the darkest, or if you would like to say the cooler, of my red shades in order to define those crepey lines and to define the veining in the petals of each flower. The center stamen section is a solid yellow, and that's the warm yellow in the set, not the cool yellow. I'm sorry, the cool yellow in the set, not the warm yellow. So more of a medium yellow or a cad yellow medium, something of that nature, just in case you're not using these particular pencils. And what you're going to see me doing throughout this video is just going back and forth with the colors I need in order to define the petals of each flower. And while the paper is still wet now, I am working in all of that veining and the shadows and the darkness that I need to separate each petal and to make it stand out as being partially open. Once I was partially satisfied with it, and you'll see me actually work on that partially closed flower throughout the entire video, I did move on to the open flower that I had, and I'm literally using the exact same technique, the exact same colors. The only difference is I'm remembering that this flower is open and I need to be sure to paint directionally for each petal. And you're just doing that to make sure that you add the right texture to each petal. You don't want to color in the opposite direction of what you would normally see the texture of what you're drawing go, if that makes sense to you. So yeah, I'm just working on these petals. One thing I've noticed about doing voiceovers is that you think quicker than you talk. And a lot of times you have to kind of try to slow yourself down and keep up with the video so that you won't move too far ahead. Yeah, not sure how great I am at that, but guys, I really do try my best. You see me using a lot of techniques in this video that I've told you guys about before with watercolor pencils, from coloring on dry paper to using the watercolor pencils on wet paper, keeping in mind that that's going to create more defined lines, and those defined lines will be a lot harder to fade out trying to add water to them because you did create those lines with the dry pencil while the paper was wet. But that lends to great definition, especially when you're trying to add details that you really need to stand out, which is why I like that technique so much. You also see me using the brush to pull pigment directly from the lid to shade in the petals in order to make sure that the richness and depth and color was where I wanted it to be. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, making sure to add in the darkest of the red color to the turned over leaves so that you'll be able to see that those leaves are turned in different directions. And I was just really happy with being able to portray a different perspective of flowers than I've done in previous videos. So here for the last layer, I am simply using the pencils directly on the paper after the paper has dried. Of course, the video is sped up and you didn't get to see it drying, but yeah, it's dry at this point. And I'm just going in and laying down those pencils dry to enrich the color slightly, ever so slightly, with a damp brush, spreading it out, and then going in again to add more color. As I told you earlier, there is no rule that says you have to add water. Alright guys, that's pretty much it at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the tape, and you're also going to see me show you comparisons from the original sketches that I did, so that you can see where I came from to where I came to. Alright guys, if you like the techniques that you saw in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Head on over to the Thrifty Apprentice Facebook page and like us there. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. And as I tell you always, just keep painting.